I think the whole thing around, watching my children grow and how they interact with data and how they interact with devices and form factors, they're much, much more comfortable with a mobile form factor, information at your fingertips, talking to their machines. And if you project that to the workforce, I think that's where next generation tooling is going to come into place. Is that you got to be looking where the puck is going, as we say in Canada, in, in terms of how to enable that future workforce to work with this new infrastructure that is literally the nervous system of today's economy. Nothing runs without data center. It is a pleasure for me to introduce Ismar Efendic, the co-founder and CTO of DC Smarter. Ismar?
Thanks, Rami. It's my pleasure to be your guest today, and really looking forward to what we're going to be talking about today.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about DC Smarter. What was the genesis of the idea?
Yeah, I mean, DC Smarter, as the name says, not so obvious, right? DC stands for the data center, and then we want to do data center smarter in a smarter way. So this idea got born 2 years ago, when together with my partner, we had this kind of same problem in our corporate professional life. And it was always how to address staff shortages, how to talk about on-site support inside of the data center, collocated enterprise data center, and so on. And yeah, we wanted to kind of do something about it, because the continuous solution to that problem was, I can get you more people to solve your problem. But that was just delaying actually the real problem. So we sat down, looked into the market, looked into the technology stack, what is available, what is emerging, and yeah, that's how we came with the DC Smarter, leveraging something cool like augmented reality, enabled through artificial intelligence as well. And yeah, now just trying to help everyone out there with our solution to address some of these challenges we face every day in data center.
Fantastic. And that's really where we're seeing, I mean, augmented reality, AI are big buzzwords right now in the data center industry. You've got a huge drive for retooling driven by some of the challenges. I mean, we're covering the challenges right now in the data center industry. You're looking at, we kind of classified those into four forces. The first one is the current talent shortage.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is the rise of edge and the increased complexity of data centers and data center operations. So that's, you've got talent shortage and you've got more distributed, more complicated infrastructure. And at the same time, you've got security and compliance and
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of things driving reporting needs, monitoring needs in the data center industry. So how do you see AI and augmented reality or mixed reality in general feeding into that and helping solve these problems?
Mm. I mean, you kind of hit the nail with all the big problems, and I think also the reality is that's not gonna go away right anytime soon. The need for the general digital transformation, I just call it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nations at different paces are catching up with each other, from the high tech countries to countries which are entering just, I don't know, with the online payment system and so on. But all of that to run, you need to have infrastructure to enable that, right?
Yes.
And was the necessity where Edge actually exploded, or it's continuously exploding with its demands. You need to serve your customers as close as you can. I think the idea around public cloud as well, that it's going to replace the data centers forever, didn't actually fly. We all know that, even though that data centers anyways, or clouds anyways, someone sells data center. But in a essence, we, or I personally see that particularly the edge is a huge growth phenomenon.
Yes.
And maybe just to mention a couple of examples, right? Automotive industry, autonomous cars, they need so
Yes.
much power to
Data
process that.
center on wheels.
Exactly. If you think about all what's happening on the manufacturing due to the different demands in the food, in the healthcare, etc. Again, huge driver for the huge amount of compute. You need edge for that.
Yes.
And that's really all that problem. And maybe just kind of scratching the question of yours, how AR or augmented mixed reality can help artificial intelligence. In order to support that decentralized spaces anymore. So we went from decentralized to centralized to decentralized to centralized, and now we again in a decentralized infrastructure,
Yes.
right? You cannot have any more computer just sitting in one geography and it's going to serve the globe. That doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
And how to support that operationally to keep up and running. So at the end of the day, it's all about uptime. It's good as long as up and online, right?
Yes.
Staff shortage. You don't have experienced people all everywhere, and there's a big gap in the age market as well. So with the augmented reality, we actually can leverage this technology to remove the barriers. Simple as that. Because once you're in front of the rack, in front of, I don't know, cooling component or whatsoever, it's a big metal box. And you are there and you need to fix that, or you need to do some maintenance, or you need to do some fresh installations.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot always know everything, or person who is doing doesn't know everything always how to do that. So through
Yes.
the augmented reality, there's a rich data out there somewhere stored that we can overlay for the engineers in front of them, right? In front of these big metal boxes, and make them immediately super smart, super intelligent, super
Mm-hmm.
efficient, because suddenly there's no more, oh, where's my laptop? I don't have, I don't know, access, or I need to call my colleague. He needs to drive in, he needs to fly in, and all of that complexity. So for me, augmented reality or mixed reality, or any of these realities you want to call that, it's a perfect way of removing these boundaries, removing these lines, and actually have physical and digital world talking to each other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I see this in science fiction drew all of this for us years ago, where you see somebody kind of looking at a piece of equipment. Is like, what am I looking at? Oh, you're looking at this. Okay, can pull me the manual, pull me the service. Where is this piece of the equipment? What do I need to do to perform this operation? Okay, call in this person to help me out and
Mm.
monitor, and then record all of that stuff and push it so that we can reference it in the future. And it's a fantastic future, and I think we're getting closer. We're actually there in a lot
Yeah.
of cases. We're there.
Mm.
Um, a lot of that stuff is, in my mind, driven by the increased instrumentation, data center, next generation tooling. As people transition from legacy monolithic tooling to more distributed, agile, consolidated tooling that is integrated with systems like augmented reality. Where do you see AI playing a role in that?
Mm. I mean, AI is actually the real reason why I strongly believe that the augmented or extended mixed reality will come to life and will become everyday's norm in the
Yeah.
future, or even today already. Because just painting a nice picture in front of you, putting some nice, I don't know, diagrams, wireframes, or whatsoever, that's only nice, but doesn't solve the problem.
Mhm.
Physical context through augmented reality, you actually start to live the Star Wars life that was recorded already in 80s, right? Where you can ask, okay, what I'm actually facing in front. I never saw this any before, so there's some documentation about it, and then using an AI that can first of all analyze with you, that can talk with you as well,
Mhm.
that can give you recommendations, but you still have a power to decide if that recommendation makes sense, right? So that's also important key to mention,
Yep.
and bringing that into the augmented reality space is a completely different game change. And we see that by latest announcements from CES, for example, what is developing from the hardware side in augmented reality.
Mhm.
A lot of new wearable glasses are coming that supporting in one or the other way AR specific capabilities.
Yes, I mean,
Few
and
weeks
edge
back,
compute in some of these
it's huge. It's
uh,
huge. It's gonna overrun the best smartphones in next 12 months. They're gonna be by factor of probably 5, 10 more powerful. And we just saw 2 weeks back on the pre-order for the Apple Vision Pro. So that went within 15 minutes, gone. So there's a strong appetite because it's so much appealing. It's so much resolving some problems which we cannot anymore resolve. I need to write a better process. I need to train people better. I need to, I don't know, bring more people. You actually need to have as well the right technology to do some of these things.
absolutely, absolutely, and in a lot of cases, um, um, you need the right training, and then you need the right systems to support that AI. In my mind, there are two components to that. The first component is the whole statistical model, and the traditional what people call machine learning, in terms of all of the statistics, all of the projections, all of the data correlations, and everything like that that is inside the and sits on top of the data pipeline. And on the other side, you've got the neural network component, of which one of the aspects of that neural network component is the whole generative AI, large language model component, that deals with things like natural language interface, or as people call right now, low friction interfaces, where you can actually
Mhm.
talk to and request something. But even then, what I found a lot of people kind of don't really realize is that asking a question like "What am I looking at?" is actually extremely complex.
Oh yeah.
So you're
For
probably
non
using like
for
multiple
non
layers of neural networks and statistical models just to answer that question in a specific context. Go ahead.
exactly.
Sorry.
No. Just wanted to say for non-human, let me just put it like that. That's a super complex
Yep.
question to answer. For us humans, we know if it's a door, if it's a window, if it's a chair, right? But
Yeah.
what I'm looking at, that
Yeah.
took some time to develop.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at a rack. What am I
Uh,
looking at? All right. Well,
uh,
you've got like, X amount of Lenovo servers and X amount of storage boxes. And okay, well, that looks like a Juniper network switch.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, all right. So in terms of that, in my mind, tools are force multipliers.
Hmm.
And how do you see that affecting and working with the challenges around talent, around training, around compliance? Do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think specifically around training or talent shortage, right? How we can bring now new generations faster into the job because the demand is bigger, not just for the hands on deck, but really the demand for knowledgeable talents. It's quite high. And I believe the traditional approach, how to train someone, you put it like
Yeah.
6 months in the classroom, you drive him 5 months of a theory, and then 1 month you send him in the field, and then after that he still needs 2 years to learn what he needs to do. And I think that this 6 months can already be used. That you actually after 6 months you can send him, or he's already working. Let me put it like that. So that's one of the key benefits of using augmented reality as a technology, because it provides this immersive experience. We as humans better react on anything visual than rather on a written text.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
Lines of text, of procedures, we need more time than AI to repeat it, to memorize it. But if we see it once, we actually quite better response to that.
Yep.
And augmented reality provides quite a controlled environment actually to train yourself. You cannot break anything, but you still get, or your brain still gets this sensation that I have touched the server, I have removed the cable, I have changed the fuse on the switch breaker. I don't know, any of these things that you can imagine that usually could be dangerous, because if you're not experienced, you can, you can have any of these unfortunate events. Augmented reality doesn't, or actually removes that risk, and then you can leave newcomers to learn. And most importantly, this is something what I'm going to tell you from my experience a few months back. For the younger generations, you need to also give some kick, something interesting. Why? To attract them. Just by saying the fact, hey, you're going to go in a data center, it can be cold, it can be hot as well, it can be
Yes.
loud as well, and you need to spend there 8 to 10 hours. Doesn't sound really appealing, right? And you need to do that next 20 years.
So, so the value proposition of saying, okay, we're going to put you in a very noisy room that is very cold or very hot, depending on whether you're in the hot aisle
Yeah.
or cold aisle.
Yeah.
And hey, by the way, you're using Excel to manage all of this. Good luck. And if something goes wrong, everybody's going to be screaming at you.
Yes. Sounds really appealing, right? So listen to this, like 3 months back, there was something happening in Germany. So like a data center open door somehow. Really nice thing, just to kind of spread the kind of awareness between the general population what data center is about. So it's not a myth. It's where your Facebook sits. It's where your WhatsApp is running. It's all of these tools that you are consuming every day for granted. And I had the pleasure to run two high school classes. It was
Yes.
cool. The teacher brought the kids to show them actually what that is. And they went through the entire from A to Z, the guide took
Mhm.
them, this is super advanced cooling mechanism. So some airflow system, pumps, etc. All of this, what we like to see nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But for them was interesting now. And then it came the last 20 minutes where I pulled two pair of glasses and say, hey guys and girls, let's do something different. This is how we can actually maintain the data centers. So I gave them the glasses, and then you see immediately complete different reaction. They were queuing up. Every single of them had the glasses for at least 5 minutes, and I had 2 times 26 kids. And 5 of them approached me and said, hey, if I start working in a data center, is this something I get instead of my laptop? I said, yeah, just let me know when you're ready to start working. So this is a bit funny, but it's also a fact. We need to accept the fact that the new generations need to have a different way of doing the work. And I'm not saying how we are doing it today or in the past is wrong, but we need to evolve as
Yeah,
everything else.
I think you're right. I think the whole thing around, watching my children grow and how they interact with data and how they interact with devices and form factors, they're much, much more comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
a mobile form factor, information at your fingertips, talking to their machines. And if you project that to the workforce, I think that's where next generation tooling is going to come into place. Is that you got to be looking where the puck is going, as we say in Canada, in, in terms of how to enable that future workforce to work with this new infrastructure that is literally the nervous system of today's economy. Nothing runs without data centers.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's step back a little bit and talk about some of the issues around data collection and how those next generation tooling is going to be working with that data. In my mind, when I see a lot of this talk, I see a lot of the assumptions being made. Is that the biggest, I think, false assumption when it comes to AI and AR work? One is that there is always an assumption that these models that the data is there, when in fact it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of work needs to happen, and a lot of work is happening right now in the infrastructure business to enable that data pipeline. You see that from anywhere from the small rack power distribution units to sensors to telemetry to all of that stuff. So how does an AI model and an augmented reality system interact with this data in, keeping in mind things like compliance, security,
Mm-hmm.
privacy? How does that work?
Yeah. So I think a few things there, right? First of all, to your point, there's almost we actually have less data than what we think that we need to operate at the data center.
Mm-hmm.
So just based on my experience, we run in average that the truth is somewhere between 30 or 40% of the data that you actually have that is accurate, and that's by far too below that you can say I can operate in excellence
Mm-hmm.
type of operations. So bringing augmented reality into this context, and again enabled by the AI, who can actually make sense for you with the data that you have, and then employing that through the augmented reality, where you can use, I know, different camera systems and similar hardware to help you to analyze while you're walking through.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, you already mentioned Excel, right? Today, you would send someone out there with a huge amount of Excel sheets that someone
Mm-hmm.
needs to populate. That someone is still us humans, and that means error is given. It's
Yep.
not. It's not going to happen. It's like just how much. And you actually have now a possibility that when you use the AR, because you have that data visualized around the physical space, you can then employ the AI to tell you, okay, what's wrong, what's not wrong. We already talk about like visual interpretation of the statuses. It's much more powerful than just a simple string.
Yeah.
Um, you can literally walk through the aisles of racks and per rack within minutes come to a conclusion what I'm missing, what I'm done, what it's accurate, and what I'm actually missing. I'm just going to push in, and then all of your stuff that is running. So all of that next generation tooling then becomes even much more powerful because
Yeah.
now they can work on the right data. They can provide the right recommendations, the right optimizations as well, right? Let's take simple example in capacity. The what is today is most asked how many height units I have available per rack, because my machine that is coming, it's now getting from 2 height unit, 1 height unit, already 4 height
Yeah.
unit, 8 height unit. You need to put these big GPU machines right inside to actually enable all of this AI that you and me are talking about. And you go there, you have a brand new systems delivered, but you don't have place because you had the
Yeah.
wrong assumption that you have place, but there's still something running there. And those are like trivial small things, right? But that's the everyday's problem that needs to be resolved.
Yeah. Not only that, but things like stranded capacity management, where you definitely have space, but you don't have power, or you have power and space, but you don't have cooling or network.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now let's step back a little bit and talk about, given all of these, that there's a huge rise in prefab data centers, edge data centers.
Mm-hmm.
How does that play into all of this? Back in the day, and back in the day, I mean, even as far back as, like, 10 years ago, most of the stuff was in large data centers. Now you're seeing deployments of a lot of mini data centers in remote locations. You see in smart city planning, data center modules buried in the street,
Mm-hmm.
running anywhere from running traffic lights, running cameras, running sensors and telemetry, and so on and so forth. How do you see that? Back when we had, like, if you're dealing with 10 data centers, that's big enough. Now you're dealing with those 10 data centers that didn't change, and now you have 500 more containers deployed in cities, and then you need to manage that. How does that work?
Mm. I think that's a challenge that no one actually anticipated it's going to be that big. Because I think most at the very beginning with this idea of the edge, it was just, okay, it's going to be a couple of racks. But then someone forget actually to multiply that. Yes, couple of racks, but to your
Yep.
point, it's going to be 500 per city. And then when you multiply that by number of cities we have, and it's simply amazing number how much is out there. So if someone would actually do a calculation, I would not be surprised to say that in 5 years we're going to actually have more compute at the edge than public cloud and the colos together. Would
Yep.
not be surprised at all. And there's a simple reason for that. So smart city, for example, right? You put all of that because you want to you want to kind of evolve your economy. To evolve economy, you need to usually increase your pace. To increase your pace, you need to be able to make smarter decisions or faster decisions.
Yep.
And make so fast decisions, then come this buzzword AI, and AI needs power. It needs compute power, it needs network power, and it was already proven you need to put it where actually the processing is happening.
Yeah. You need to put it closer to the data.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
lot- I
Absolutely.
mean, I know I use a smart car example, a self-driving car example, quite a bit, but um, you can't wait for a round trip to analyze whether you're going to be hitting a pedestrian or not. That analysis needs to happen on the car.
Exactly. And we are talking not more seconds, but nanoseconds response time, or even much, much smaller numbers.
Absolutely.
And I mean, maybe building on top of that, what we also discuss now, all of that distributed infrastructure, it's everywhere, right? That needs to be operated, and kind of bring us back to the beginning of our discussion. Who is going to do that? Do we have enough people to do that? Do we have enough talent to go out there? Are we present in every location where we actually need to do that? And by using technologies again like augmented reality, it actually gives you quite a simplified way how you can enable the masses to support you, than rather the other way around, where you go for more specialized type of a skill set.
Absolutely. I was talking to some people in the industry. I'm not going to mention names right now, but I mean, we were talking about some of the trends, and I think in 10 years, or maybe even sooner, we're going to see autonomous data centers. We're going to see data centers that are completely 100% robotic, 100% instrumented, all running distributed, resilient infrastructure that can handle, let's say, 30-40% failure without losing SLA. Even to the extent where you don't even put oxygen in those data centers, where oxygen burns, things oxidize. Why not either immerse it completely or put an inert gas like argon or nitrogen, or nitrogen is not inert, but it's not flammable as much as oxygen. And you just basically compress the whole thing and just put it somewhere, and it's bury it, stick it in the ocean as Microsoft did, and run it. And I mean, you're going to see that as well as maybe a little bit further down the line in space, and so on and so forth. That level of autonomous compute, and well, not autonomous compute, but autonomous and autonomously run data centers will mean that you will not be able to manage it without that force multiplier that requires that the extra data analysis, data visualization, where a human in the middle is able to make decisions, run maintenance operations, initialize some robotic functions, etc. But that's going a little bit down the line. Now, let's circle back to the four challenges and the four pillars. So we spoke about talent shortage, we spoke about edge growth. Let's circle back to security. How do you see all of this playing with security? And there's multiple vectors to security. Of course, there is traditional network security. There's physical security. There's how does that play?
I mean, generally, cybersecurity is, in terms of the awareness and the impact to the economy, to the enterprises, to the businesses, year by year, is just growing, right? Yeah. We are coming to a point where the governments cannot anymore ignore that fact. So I think up to last year, we were more in the mode what I called recommendations. So you had some specific standards, some guidelines, which is nice, good, recommended to have. But it's reaching the point where when the economies are impacted, you can basically impact the entire country economy in a single minute due to
So
some cyber breach, etc. And for that, we are seeing in Europe, we are seeing in other states as well across the globe, uh, that the states and countries actually now bringing regulations, legislation in place,
yeah,
that you need to be responsible to a certain minimum level, and actually have to say it's quite high already, that minimum level, what they call of a
yeah,
cybersecurity, and there's actually good reason. So I'm fully supported to that, uh, in order to ensure that we defend the economy, right? And the interesting fact, if you like kind of read all of these long documents, what you need to do, all of the EDR, the different protections on the endpoint, at the edge, on the network level,
yeah,
plus all the security different measures you can employ, it comes down to a single fact. You can only protect what you know what you have.
exactly.
It just comes down to a single fact. And if you have a stale server, a system somewhere hooked up where, I don't know, someone remove a route on the network, so it's not anymore accessible from the command central. So for the command central, that system doesn't exist, but actually still up running, and there's an access entrance to it. That's your weak spot, and can crumble the entire cybersecurity that you have employed around the highest and the greatest doors, the cameras, the
Yeah,
retina sensors, and all of that, just because of that one asset. And we know it's not just one asset that we don't know, that we don't have. And for me, that's a exciting and the scary thing at the same time, that actually just because of one single system, everything can be encrypted, locked down, and lost forever.
I agree. I mean, if I were to summarize, I would say you got two vectors here, or two things that you need to work on. One is situational awareness, and there's multiple layers there. Your asset register, and the data pipeline coming in from those assets and
Mhm.
sensors. So situational awareness, and this is where certainly AI is a partner in terms of that, whether it's statistical analysis, large language model, even control pipelines that are connected somehow to AR in terms of raising alerts and performing actions. The other one is reaction time.
Mhm.
So situational awareness and improved detection and reaction time. And you can't get one without the other. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship between the two. And data centers are certainly a huge target for malicious actors, be it state actors or just general cybercrime, etc. And certainly that adds to the workloads of current infrastructure and operations team, and it doesn't and the extra layer of compliance and certifications and all of that stuff is not making the situation. It is good, but in terms of the workload, it's not making it better.
No, no,
This is
no.
so
Absolutely not.
so um and I think there's a lot of things to say about how you view that and how you view your situation there, how you view your position there as an infrastructure and operations manager, and where do you see yourself creating this kind of tooling stack and roadmap for hiring, training, and tooling that will help you deal with that in an efficient way. Throwing
Mm.
more bodies at a problem can be beneficial, but without guidance, without the right tools and frameworks, it's not going to be very effective. Let's put it
Yeah,
this way.
no.
Okay, compliance.
Compliance.
So you've
That's it.
got so many stacks or so many kind of layers. So you've got your environmental compliance and reporting, and we're seeing Europe leading the way there, followed by California and other states. And then below that, you've got layers of compliance around security and all of that stuff. So we discussed security, but in general, in terms of power utilization, in tracking, power reporting in relation to environmental reporting and all of that stuff, where do you see that kind of fitting into this whole idea of AI, next generation tooling, and optimization vis-a-vis AR and other tool stacks?
I think around this energy efficiency, right? So everything what you have kind of listed out there, well, it plays a lot now, the reaction to that challenge, to that problem. So here we see as well the trend that it's not anymore nice to have, it's not anymore just a standard or recommendation, is becoming as well something which is becoming a law that companies, operators need to comply with. And that puts a different, more pressure on the same, right? On the other side, they need to deliver in terms of the capacity. And then now they also need to comply to some of these regulations. I think AI is already progressing quite strongly in this segment, providing insights and recommendations how you can run your data centers, your cages, your rooms more efficiently, how you can distribute better your workloads, how to work the red spots right in your environment, reduce the power consumption just by optimizing your workloads better. What is then the next step in order really to reach that, or at least to come closer to that goal of the efficiency, is we still need to go out in the field and see how things are built. And this is where augmented reality is kind of bringing this added value. We have that huge amount of data from different sensors collected, from different smart devices collected. And now you put an AI who can make sense out of that. And then the final piece of it, now I need to see it actually to understand it, what AI is trying to tell me of this pool of data. And drawing kind of the entire digital twin using augmented reality of the facility down from the room up to the entire floor and so on, it actually helps you to find faster where is your airflow broken, where you actually have a design flaws that you didn't think about, where you have put an extra rack where you thought, okay, physically it can fit there and I can still comply with my regulatory distances from left and right, right? But it's actually breaking my cooling engineering, what I have put inside. So putting that and seeing actually air with your eyes, you cannot see the air with your eyes, but augmented reality air, you can now see how the air is flowing around of your locations, etc. It's something what I see a lot of folks in a facility desperately need, because now they actually can say, okay, this we cannot build it here. We need to move it. We need capacity and so on.
No, absolutely. I think when you look at CFD analysis that happens at the beginning and on occasional times in the life cycle of a data center, which can span 25 years, 30 years in some cases, you're making a huge investment. But then there isn't those opportunities, and a lot of the assumption and the industry landscape and even power availability and all of that stuff and equipment that you would put in there have changed. I mean, rack densities have changed for sure. Server draw has changed now with AI and running AI models. You're running GPUs. You're consuming 10 amp, you're looking 30 amp, two or three or four, sometimes 30 amp circuits in one rack. And that was in a lot of the older data centers, that was never a consideration.
I mean, to be honest, 5 years ago, never considered what you just said, yet alone the older data centers when they were built like 10, 15 years ago. 5 years ago, in the widest kind of dreams and discussions, 16. That was kind of the maximum what my rack is going to have. And today you're already talking 4 times more for per rack that you need. And then you have hundreds of racks. So that's a crazy factor, man.
And any type of CFD analysis or any type of planning that you've done at the beginning is not going to cut it.
Nope.
Now you're doing these optimizations and you're looking at retrofit and you're saying, oh, well, what is my situation right now? Where are the bottlenecks? Where is my stranded capacity? Am I over provisioned? Am I under provisioned? What metrics should I look at? And a lot of that stuff hinges on the power of the tooling and the power of the roadmap vision in terms of tooling and staffing and vision for managing the infrastructure.
Absolutely. And I will maybe just add to that, I think the time is already over that we can really rely on our 10-year plans anymore. Even 5 years plan are
Yes.
actually hard to keep up, right?
Yeah.
So
I think
we need
it's
to,
1 or 2 years at a time right now.
yeah, exactly. So you need to first of all empower the people who are operating the data centers. They're there
Yeah.
every day. They know exactly what can go there and what cannot. And on the other side, going back to your tooling mention, you need to give them the right tools.
Mm-hmm.
If they have the right tools, they have the necessary experience, they know these facilities in and out. You need to enable them, empower them. They can then make these decisions, and they need to make it more frequently. They need to make in an agile way, how we like to say that in the software development. You need to iterate, and
Yes.
the demand is continuously just landing on your table. And you cannot wait 2
Agile
years to build a
infrastructure.
pipeline. Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. I mean, if I may, I'll finish with a framework that our CEO coined in. That's the 3S framework, which is the secure, sustain, and streamline. And very simplistically, when you're looking at your operations, you want to sustain it, make sure it's operating, make sure in a efficient and effective way, and you want to secure it, and you want to streamline it, looking at the past, the data that's coming in, and projected plans for the future. And I would add what you just said, do it in an agile way, agile infrastructure. Ismar Efendic, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. I hope we can have you one more time, and always enjoy our chats. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well, Rami. It was a pleasure talking with you today. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.